I got two words for you. Thunder versus Spurs. Must watch TV. I've been saying for the last 3 years that eventually, more sooner than later, Victor Wembanyama is going to be the face of the NBA. And last night, my boys, it felt like his coronation. It felt like the moment that we all knew he just snatched the chain from SGA, and now this league runs through Victor Wembanyama. What a performance from this kid who's only 22 years old. The last 22-year-old to put up these numbers in the postseason was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1970. The last player to do what he did last night in the last 25 years was Shaquille O'Neal. Not only that, but the Spurs started that game with the youngest starting lineup in Western Conference Finals history in the last 55 years. An average age of 22 years old is their starting five because obviously De'Aaron Fox was out last night with an injured ankle. This team is a fully functioning Death Star, and it was scary to see last night. If you're one of these contending teams, especially in the Western Conference, you have to deal with this guy, Victor Wembanyama, for most likely another 18 years. This guy is a monster, and he showed all that he could do all last night in the double overtime classic. By the way, easily the best playoff game we've seen this postseason. It's one of the best playoff games I've ever seen. Again, double overtime. That Wemby logo three-point shot was absolutely insane. No, I'm glazing the hell out of Wemby right now, but he is the perfect player. He checks off all the boxes. And like that logo three, I still can't get over it. This team, though, I don't want to just give all the credit to Wemby, even though he absolutely deserves it. With the numbers he finished with was absolutely insane. But Dylan Harper, who's still a rookie, I think people forget that, stepping up with De'Aaron Fox missing the game. I think he had a fantastic game. Stephen Castle had 11 turnovers, and they were still able to manage to pull it off that win. This team, they're going to grow together, and this is a dynasty in the making. I think at this moment in time, I am more afraid of the Spurs for the next 5-10 years than I am of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Just because the Spurs just have done such a well job drafting, and it's not even that they were gifted Dylan Harper, because I mean you could make the argument that they were, but the fact that they were able to get Castle because the Houston Rockets were stupid enough to pass on Castle for Reed Shepherd, the fact that even Carter Bryant, who they got at pick 14 in last year's draft, he looks already like a solid role player. OKC looked stunned last night. And here's the thing, the Spurs have essentially dominated OKC the entire year. Like, the Spurs have not backed down from the Thunder. They're one of those few teams that they don't buy into how great the Thunder are. They feel like they're on the same level, and I feel like Wemby believes that they're even better than OKC, which is crazy. Again, this is Wemby's third season, and he's already in a conference finals. And I don't think the Thunder, even though it did go to 2 overtimes and the Thunder were still in the game, and it was anybody's game up until like the last few minutes of double OT. And if you really want to point fingers with Oklahoma City, if you really want to blame anybody for that loss, I know people are harping on Shea because Shea had a terrible game. Shea, I feel like teams were focused on stopping him, and it's worked for once last night. Obviously, it didn't work in the Lakers series, and we'll get to that when we get to it. But last night, like, Shea struggled, combining 2 points in overtime and double OT. Like, he just seems to be struggling a little bit. In this playoff run that OKC is on right now, I have not been blown away by Shea's performances. I feel like Shea played one great game against the Lakers, and that was obviously game 4. But like last night, he was struggling big time. But to me, that wasn't like my biggest takeaway. I didn't leave that double overtime classic, because that's what it was. Last night's game was an absolute classic. I didn't leave that game completely wanting to sell my Shea stock. Now, I know a lot of people are giving him shit, and obviously Wemby doing that on the night that Shea is rewarded the MVP award for his second year in a row is insane. Very much like what Hakeem did to David Robinson in the 90s. But the one person in OKC that I point all the blame towards at this moment, it has to be Chet Holmgren. Chet absolutely stunk it up. And it feels like every time he matches up with Wemby, there seems to be mind games going on, and Chet just cannot lock in at all. Like, Wemby just owns this kid for whatever reason. Part of me feels like it is the physicality that Wemby brings to the table. I feel like it's too much for Chet. I think Chet saw Wemby in the offseason, trained with the League of Shadows, and came back an absolute monster. Like, Wemby's in his Bane era right now, man. And, like, I think Chet is just so afraid to get any type of contact on this guy. It's something more in his mind than it is in his actual game. But there's so many instances in this game and multiple games that I've seen Chet versus Wemby play on. And part of me feels like the NBA is really trying to force this whole Chet-Wemby rivalry a little bit too much. But you could tell Wemby does not care about Chet whatsoever. Like, he does not like him for whatever reason. He wants to beat any team Chet is on. And I 100% get that. I don't know the logistics or the true history between the two. I probably should have done research on that. That's my bad. But from the outside looking in, because I don't know all the details of their story, Wemby turns it up another notch when he sees Chet's across the floor trying to guard him. And if you're Chet, you cannot finish this game with single-digit rebounds and single-digit points. You just can't. And Chet had a great block to send the game to overtime. And even you could tell, like, his teammates, after that block on Wemby to force OT, they're trying to get Chet locked in. They're, like, slapping him in the chest, giving him that look like, come on, man. Like, this is a matchup you need to take seriously. You cannot back down from this guy, because if you back down from him, he's going to do what he did last night, which was absolutely dominate Oklahoma. And so Chet was obviously, to me, clearly the most disappointing Oklahoma City Thunder last night by far. I think it's all in his mind. I think Wemby has a physicality matchup against Chet that just he can't overcome. And if the Thunder want to win this series, which, by the way, we all need 7 games of this. The league needs 7 games of it. The fans of the league need 7 games of it. Basketball needs 7 games of OKC San Antonio. By far. Like, I don't even think I would be so disappointed if this series ends in less than 6 or 7 games, because this seems like it's going to be an absolute barn burner classic. But if Chet doesn't lock in, and if I'm Oklahoma, game 2, I'm feeding the ball into the post to Chet. Let Chet control the post. Have Shea, J-Dub, Dort control the perimeter and try to maybe spot up for threes. But Chet has to be locked in. Like Isaiah Hartenstein, obviously you could tell he doesn't seem affected by Wemby, but Wemby, the talent between the two of them is just so astronomical. Isaiah can't keep up with that. But with Chet, it's like, dude, you're a guy that many argue he's probably the second best player on OKC. I still think it's J-Dub at the moment, but Chet does have the ability to be the second best player on this Oklahoma City Thunder team. Defensively, offensively, he can shoot the ball as well. But for whatever reason, Wembanyama has become his boogeyman. So game 2, OKC has to feed the ball to Chet. You have to get that guy going, because if he does not lock in, if he fails to get invested into this game, if he fails to step up in the moment and go one-on-one with Wemby, obviously it's a team game. But defensively and boxing out wise, it's one-on-one. And so far, Wemby's whipping his ass. It's as simple as that. Now, I'm not expecting Chet to stop him, but you just cannot be at all participating whatsoever. There are long moments in game 1 where I forgot Chet was even in the game. Because anytime the ball would hit the rim, Wemby was already in the air grabbing the rebound. Last night, it really did look to me like the Spurs were faster. They looked younger. They looked more resilient. And again, this is a team this is their first playoff run as a core unit. They've never been there. OKC, up until yesterday, had won 9 straight playoff games in a row. The last game that OKC lost in the playoffs was game 6 against the Pacers in the finals last year. So they've been whooping everybody. And for the Spurs to have never been there, this is the first, again, run together into the postseason without De'Aaron Fox, to go into Oklahoma and just put an absolute stamp on a huge win for them, stealing home court. And Wemby is now, to me, it starts like every player has a moment in their careers, the greats, where you remember them as they're going to be legendary. They're going to be legendary. Like, to me, the first time with Kobe, where it was like, this guy's going to be an all-time great, to me was game 3 against the Pacers, or game 4, I forget which game, where Shaquille O'Neal fouls out and Kobe does the That was Kobe's moment. Shaq's entire moment was the entire 2000 season. Iverson's moment, obviously, the crossover and the step over Ty Lue. Magic, to me, that game 6 against Philly to win his first championship without Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson plays center. That was his moment. That was those moments. LeBron against the Pistons when he scores 20-plus straight points on his own. There's moments in time for these great players. Like, to me, Curry, it was also that three-pointer against OKC from the logo. They have these signature moments that stamps them as these guys aren't just going to be great players, they're going to be legendary players. Players that we talk about for decades and decades if we're lucky to live that long. That last night's Wemby performance was that moment. It was that moment that stamps it, that this guy is not only going to be a legitimate title contender, he's going to win one eventually. He's going to be a multi-time MVP, multi-time Defensive Player of the Year winner. He is going to be the face of the league. Any debate of who the face is, to me, died last night. Obviously, Shea's the two-time MVP. Obviously, Shea's the defending champion. Obviously, Shea could turn this series around. And, I mean, who knows? I've seen crazier things happen. And I wouldn't be shocked. Maybe OKC just locks in, gentlemen sweeps them. I don't think that's going to happen because of how good Wembanyama is. But is it a possibility? Sure. But as of last night, it was 100% the coronation that Victor Wembanyama is the perfect player and the best player and the face of the National Basketball Association. And in my opinion, boys, it's not even close. Forget the Wemby Chet debates. That's not even on the table anymore. And it hasn't been, honestly, in my opinion, for a while. This is Wemby's league. And after last night, we're all just living in it and witnessing it. If you're another team out there, if you're a team like the Lakers, the Rockets, teams in the West that have title aspirations, you have to have just dread thinking that the Spurs once again have a dominant big man like Tim Duncan, like David Robinson. It's crazy that I have now lived long enough to see the Spurs have essentially 4 franchise guys. First it was David Robinson, then it was Tim Duncan, then it was Kawhi. Kawhi being the only one of those two for start to say, I don't want this, and left to Toronto, and then the Clippers because Ballmer paid him under the table. And now Victor Wembanyama. That this team, this organization has been so blessed with talent. And yeah, granted, they were pretty bad for 8 years, ever since Kawhi left and decided he didn't want to be a San Antonio Spur and he wanted to go to LA at some point. But now they have the perfect player. And I was insane. I don't even know what moment. I guess it would be the logo 3. I still can't get over it. And it's for OKC. Again, everybody's talking about Victor, as I have just done for the first minutes of this podcast. But Shea played bad. J-Dub just came back from injury. Lou Dort was a brick from 3. Both their bigs were pretty much, all 3, if you want to include the other J-Dub too, were non-existent and really didn't add anything to the game because of how great Wemby was and how good he was doing. And again, signing Luke Cornett was one of the best free agency moves the Spurs could have possibly done because they have the professionals on that bench. Dude, I totally forgot they had Biyombo on that bench last night until I saw him right there next to the bench talking to De'Aaron Fox. If you're the Thunder, I think, you're probably saying to yourselves, my God, this is going to be a bitch to take this guy out in the 7-game series. But you're still the champions. You have still the core of players to get it done. With the Thunder, as I said since episode 1, they have guys from 1 to 15. I talked about this when I was comparing them to the Lakers. We will definitely talk about the Lakers in a bit. So you got to feel good about the fact that you did take it to double overtimes with Shea playing so bad, with Chet being non-existent. You could pat yourself on the back for that. But you got to get Chet going. I think that's the only real concern if I'm OKC is this guy has to be locked in to take this team down. And if it's not, it might be shorter series than we thought. But I am hoping to the basketball gods that this ends up going 7 games because we need it, man. This league, this fan base that still loves NBA basketball, we definitely need a 7-game classic between these two teams. I think it speaks volumes that we all knew these were going to be the final 2 teams. We all knew that these guys are levels above. These 2 teams have probably the best front offices in the league. I saw a tweet yesterday that was basically sorry, Eastern Conference, the Western Conference Finals is the true NBA Finals. And I find that hard to disagree about. I don't see the Knicks or the Cavs, sorry, Knicks fans, beating either one of these teams. The way to build a championship contender in today's age with the new collective bargaining agreement that the National Players Association foolishly agreed upon, and CJ McCollum completely ruined the league with agreeing to that new CBA. That's the way you build a championship team, is what the Thunder and the Spurs have done the last few years. They've collected assets throughout, and they drafted players, and they developed those players, and they were able to make moves around the margins, around their star players, to give their team depth, which is something the team like the Lakers didn't have. Now, yeah, Lakers got swept. Not disappointed by the outcome, disappointed that the season is over and I can't watch them play ball till October. With also being disappointed with the fact that obviously this team, the Lakers, are going to look 100% different next season. I don't see a lot of these guys coming back. But as for the series with Oklahoma, all the things I talked about back in episode 1 were highlighted in this series. AJ Mitchell averaged 24 points per game in that 4-game series. AJ Mitchell was a second-round pick by the Knicks, who the Thunder swooped in and traded for. That's something Sam Presti does. That's not something Rob Pelinka does. Jared McCain shot 80% from 3. A guy they acquired at the trade deadline because Daryl Morey is an idiot and he absolutely 100% deserves to be unemployed. Traded Jared McCain for no reason, just because they had Quentin Grimes, and I don't know why they felt the need to save money. You've already wasted money in Paul George and other things, but that's a different story for a different day. Point is, Daryl Morey 110% deserved to be fired by the Sixers. It's probably the best move the Sixers have made in years. Daryl Morey's absolute bozo. But the Thunder acquired Jared McCain, and now this dude can't miss from 3. 80% from 3 against the Lakers in that series. And while the Lakers, the first player they signed in free agency last summer, Jake LaRavia, was DNP'd for Game 3 and Game 4. Their starting center, DeAndre Ayton, was non-existent, was more focused on getting some cringy-ass chain that says dominating, even though the guy couldn't even get more than 5 rebounds the entire series. You know, I understood the risk when we picked up Ayton, but throughout this entire season, they tried their hardest to motivate this guy. They made t-shirts with his face fused at the lion. They made DeAndre Ayton secret juice to get him hyped for games. And to me, like, Ayton is basically the D'Angelo Russell of centers in this league. Skilled offensively, but if they don't got it, they don't got it. They're not a guy that you can go to war with any given night. The fact that they had to really, really motivate him mostly, to care is just, that's not who the Lakers need long-term at center. So the 2 to 3 big fishes that you caught this summer, Pelinka, were basically unplayable in a series where a second-round pick from a year ago, AJ Mitchell, is averaging 24 points per game because they're able to have the ability to just rest J-Dub because they didn't need him, because they have an array of players that they could use throughout the series and not miss a beat. Again, a second-round pick averaged 24 points per game in the second season against the Lakers in the playoffs. Well, Dalton Connect, a first-round pick in that same draft, can't even get on the court unless it's a blowout game. Now, I know Adu Thero got some playing time, but Adu Thero didn't get enough playing time in the regular season for him to really expect him to do anything in that series against Oklahoma. There's levels to this, man. And if I'm Mark Walter and I watched that series and I spent all this money on this Lakers franchise, it would be hard for me not to just go up to Sam Presti and give him a blank check and say, put whatever number you want. Because can you really go into this offseason trusting Rob Pelinka? And I know, look, the Lakers are bringing in 2 assistant GMs. They're putting money into the practice facility, which is why the G League Lakers are going from being the South Bay Lakers to the Coachella Lakers next season, because they're going to put a lot of money into their practice facility, their medical team, et cetera, et cetera. Well, now they have Mark Walter money. They don't have Cheapo Genie money anymore. And Pelinka said all the right things at the press conference, the end of season press conference after they were swept. But Pelinka does that a lot. Pelinka usually does say the right things. And it's the execution that I need to see more. I just look, this is the most important Laker offseason since 2019 when they landed Anthony Davis and they tried to land Kawhi, and then we didn't know Kawhi was getting paid under the table. So we had to wait, and then Kawhi picks the Clippers. So then we hedge and we go after Danny Green. Ends up working out. We win the 2020 championship. But this offseason is massive, man, because you only have Luka for 2-3 more years. Dallas fans are already thinking he's going to come back there. Austin Reeves is a free agent. I would assume the Lakers sign him, and LeBron James is a free agent. The thing with that, all being said, and the Lakers have made it clear to anybody that will listen that this summer is as important to them as it is to the fans. But here's the problem with free agency this year. The two best free agents available are LeBron James and Austin Reeves. Now, you're going to hear a bunch of different names from now till free agency begins. You're going to hear names like Jalen Duren, who absolutely stunk for the Pistons in the playoffs, probably ruined his value when it comes to negotiations with the Pistons. And if you're the Lakers, do you feel comfortable paying somebody who seemed to be a net negative for Detroit when he was on the court? The guy was getting absolutely outplayed and outperformed by Jared Allen, who I'm a big Jared Allen fan, so I wasn't surprised by that. But if you're Duren and you're entering restricted free agency, that is going to cause a rift in negotiations. You're going to hear about Walker Kessler, who's also a restricted free agent. You're going to hear about Tari Eason, Peyton Watson. The issue with those players I just mentioned, again, is they're restricted free agents. Now, fans, for some reason, seem to forget what RFA means. If you don't know what restricted free agency means, it means that the team that originally drafted them or the team that originally has said player, they are able to match the contract in a, I believe it, what is it, like 48, 72-hour time span? They only have a certain amount of time in days and hours to decide if they want to match the contract. So let's say the Lakers were to give Walker Kessler a 4-year, I don't know, 30, 35, $40 million contract. The Jazz would then have time to match it, maybe move things around, or maybe come to the decision that is Walker Kessler worth that amount of money when he's been so injury prone the last few years, and we have a chance to draft somebody like Boozer, which I doubt. I think Utah Jazz are probably going to draft either AJ DeBontis or Darren Peterson, so they're probably not going big man heavy. I think the Jazz do want to keep Kessler because they want the Kessler, Laurie, Jaren Jackson trio for whatever reason. I don't know if that's going to work. I doubt it. But like, that's what I mean. If the Lakers are just targeting restricted free agents, it's going to be very tough to just hope that, well, maybe this team doesn't want to match the contract. Now, out of all those players I mentioned, the only one that I could really see the Lakers having a chance at is Peyton Watson. And the reason I can see Payne Watson being a real option for the Lakers is because Denver's cap situation. Are they able to offload Aaron Gordon? Are they able to offload somebody like Christian Brown, who has been an absolute disappointment since they gave him his extension? Are they able to move those guys to keep somebody like Peyton Watson? And do they want to move those guys to keep Peyton Watson? That's somebody who I feel is attainable via RFA. I still think Houston's going to run it back with Tari Eason. I don't see Houston wanting him to go. Again, now I think Jalen Duren is a little bit more available now than he was at the start of the postseason. But then, do you really want to pay somebody without everybody just witnessed look like he can't play in postseason play? That's the thing. And it's like, are we really going to trust Rob Pelinka to figure that out? Now, I am genuinely curious to see who these assistant GMs are that are coming and tell Pelinka. Obviously, they're hiring two. One's going to focus on the draft. The other, I think this is going to focus like on analytics and things like that. But what are they going to provide to Pelinka that he doesn't do already? And is Pelinka even going to bother to listen to these guys? That's my curiosity. This is a guy that has failed to make moves around the margins. He has failed to add adequate depth to this Laker team. If it's not Jake LaRavia and DeAndre Ayton, it's Gabe Vincent. If it's not Gabe Vincent, it's Taurean Prince. If it's not Taurean Prince, it's Kendrick Nunn. And the list goes on and on and on and on of bench guys that Pelinka believes in that just end up forgetting how to shoot, forgetting how to play defense, and end up becoming a net negative for this team. Then come postseason, we can't even rely on these so-called role players, whereas OKC and San Antonio, well, man, they have the blessing of being able to rely on the guys that they drafted and developed. And speaking of drafting, like, I know the Lakers will have, I believe, the 24th or the 25th pick of the first round. Do they trade that pick? I would hope they wouldn't, but then do we trust Pelinka to make a good draft selection? Look at Pelinka's recent draft picks. Tellen Horton-Tucker out of the league. Jalen Hood-Schifino out of the league. Dalton Connect heading to being out of the league. I mean, nobody needs a different team, a different change of scenery more than Dalton Connect. The guy was a first-round pick, we all thought we had the steal of the draft when he dropped all the way down to where the Lakers were selecting at. And it turns out that like now, ever since that stupid Mark Williams trade that got vetoed by the Lakers, which in hindsight, thank God, because Mark Williams does look like damaged goods and clearly is too hurt and didn't even play a single second in the playoffs for Phoenix. So that ended up working out for the Lakers because, again, that Mark Williams should not have been the Lakers' long-term answer at center. But now, again, Dalton Connect is just not even playable. So you're drafting these guys and you're failing to develop them. Like a Duke Thero, they really desperately need to develop. Like he needs to absolutely hit. I believe in the Duke Thero. His athleticism is insanely good that you have to play him moving to the following season. But yeah, man, I have a hard time believing in Pelinka. I don't know the direction this team is going to go. What kind of contract does LeBron want? Is he going to take a vet minimum contract? I doubt it. I know there was that rumor out there. I don't see that happening. Is he going to go to Golden State for $10 million or $9 million? Is he going to go to the Knicks? Is he going to go to Cleveland? Those are about the price range I believe those three teams are at, around $9 to $10 million. If I had to guess with LeBron, and by the way, I'm not going to guess with Austin Reeves because from what I've known, there's only two real serious suitors for Austin Reeves at the moment, and that's the Utah Jazz and the Atlanta Hawks. Now, I don't see Austin going to Utah. I could see Atlanta because Atlanta kind of is a playoff team. Quinn Snyder's a really good coach. Atlanta is building a foundation there that does kind of fit Austin Reeves' game. Like a backcourt of him, Dyson Daniels, and Nickeil Alexander is insanely good, especially in the Eastern Conference. But at the end of the day, I don't see Austin Reeves leaving the Lakers. He'll sign for maybe $30, $35 million. The worst thing that could possibly happen is the team jumps and just offers him 40, 45. At that point, if you're the Lakers, and you really have to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, is that worth the price? I think it is, especially if Luka Doncic is asking for him to return. You have to do everything in your power to make sure you do everything to make your franchise player happy. If Luka Doncic wants Austin Reeves to stay at Laker, then there should be no questions asked that Austin Reeves has to be a Laker in October at the tip-off of the season. Now the question goes back to LeBron. If I had to guess, if I had to put a number at it, I think LeBron signs for 2 years, between $40 and $45 million. Before everybody freaks out, I think it's going to be a 1 year deal essentially for 20 to 25 million with a player or team option attached for the second year, which gives LeBron a little bit of, a safety net just in case he does want to come back the following year. And then you kind of just deal with it again. Does LeBron deserve to stay for a farewell tour? I think absolutely. He took the role of the third banana. He took that. I think he believes in JJ Redick. I think him and JJ Redick have a very close relationship, obviously, because they had the podcast together. I think LeBron genuinely does have a love for JJ that he hasn't had for other coaches, especially on the Lakers. Like LeBron got here, Luke Walton was already in place. They never got along. Luke lasted that one season of LeBron in 2018 and he was out. He wanted Ty Lue. The Ty Lue negotiation went to shit. The Lakers pivot. They go with Frank Vogel. I don't think him and Vogel were that close. Then Vogel ends up getting canned because the whole Westbrook debacle. They bring in Darvin Ham. I don't know if LeBron and Darvin Ham were that close either. The one coach that LeBron has been close to in his Laker tenure has been JJ Redick. And he trusts JJ, and he trusts JJ to put LeBron in a position to still succeed at his age of 41, about to be 42 in December. So I think that gives the Lakers a little bit of an edge, a little bit of a chance to negotiate a contract where both parties feel happy and comfortable with. Now, I don't think LeBron is worth the $45 million he's currently being paid. But if you get LeBron James at 20, 25 million, yeah, sure, man. I mean, again, look at this free agency. It's not that stacked of a group of guys where you can say, well, would I rather play LeBron 20 million or somebody like Tobias Harris? Which, don't get me wrong, Tobias Harris played very well for the Pistons in the playoffs. But if we're choosing between Tobias Harris and LeBron James, well, after what we saw LeBron do when he took the back seat to Luka and Austin in March and that team won double-digit games in a row, and then when LeBron took back being the head honcho in that first round against Houston, he still looked amazing. Again, if this free agency had the Donovan Mitchells and the guys that we're expecting, like the Jokic's and the Giannis, which is most likely won't happen, but that's 2-3 years down the line, even with Luka as well, that's a debate. In this free agency, the two best free agents are LeBron James and Austin Reeves. Now, the Lakers should bring both back. That's not really the problem I have. The problem I have after they do that, and they should do that, is what are you putting around the three guys, your three main guys, your big three, Luka, Austin, LeBron. You got to bring back Marcus Smart. I think that's no negotiation. He has to come back. Marcus Smart was so good in the playoffs, just one of those gritty guys that does his thing. I would, if I were them, I would look bringing back Jordan Goodwin. You need small guards that could play defense and hit the three and slash and cut. They don't have enough of them. They had Marcus Smart and Bronny. That's it. Defensive guys that could do what those guys did, they did not have enough. Jordan Goodwin should have never left. The fact that they cut him was foolish. I would rather have gone to war with Goodwin than Jake LaRavia. That's also no negotiation. Jake LaRavia can't come back. Sorry. I know you grew up a diehard Laker fan, yada, yada, yada. He had some good moments in the beginning of the first half of the season. He was unplayable between the months of March and April. And if you can't step up when it matters most, see ya. If Aiden opts into his contract, which is the other domino that many Laker fans are holding their breath about, I don't think it's the end of the world. I know Laker fans really don't want him to opt in. I don't see him getting a better contract. I really don't see a team out there looking to pay Aiden more than what he's getting currently right now with the Lakers. But let's live in a world that he does opt in. Well, now you have an expiring contract around $10 million that should be easy to trade. The reason being, again, because of CJ McCollum, under this new CBA, teams that don't want to pay the luxury tax or the hard cap or deal with any of that are more willing to trade good players with more years on their contract that they're able to absorb a contract that's going to come off the books. So then Aiden becomes a valuable trade asset for matching contracts if the Lakers do go the route, instead of saying, oh, we're going to sign LeBron, Austin, and sign all these other players. No, we're going to sign LeBron and Austin and then trade for other quality talent. We're going to use somebody like DeAndre Ayton's expiring and the 2031st first round pick to upgrade the roster. To me, that makes sense. Now, if Aiden walks, and you just have the cap space and you try to maneuver that way. But I don't think necessarily it's the end of the world if DeAndre Ayton opts into his contract. I know a lot of fans don't want it, but again, expiring contracts in today's NBA with today's new CBA, those are very, very valuable. So it's not the end of the world. To me, there's only really one bad contract on the Lakers' books, and it's Jared Vanderbilt. Look, I was a fan of Jared when we traded for him in the Westbrook to Minnesota trade with Utah. Jared Vanderbilt's defense that year, especially against Steph Curry in that second round matchup, was elite. He looked amazing. He looked like the guy that they needed, at the forward position that could play defense from the 1 to the 5. But ever since he had that foot injury, it has not been the same, which is a shame because the injury happened right after we gave him that ridiculous 4-year extension. In hindsight, at the time, that 4-year extension was celebrated. It was even celebrated by your boy. I thought it was a great, extension. I wanted to keep Jared. He was a young guy that could play defense. And then the foot injury happened, and he has just not been able to get back to where he was his first few months with the Lakers. Offensively, he's a dud. He has not progressed. He's degressed big time. He's still one of their better rebounders, but at the price you're paying him for the years left on his contract, for the money remaining on his contract, it's going to be hard for the Lakers to just offload Jared Vanderbilt. I don't see a lot of teams lining up to take on the years and money left to pay a guy who just doesn't really have any offensive bag whatsoever. Now, I know he shot better from 3 this year, but he just has no touch around the basket. He's not really a guy that slashes and attacks the rim. And even when he does, it's always so clunky. And that's probably the contract that's going to be the hardest for the Lakers to move, because the only way you could possibly move it is by attaching assets to it. And you're probably not going to get much back other than cap relief. And that same situation applies with Dalton Connect. But the thing with Dalton Connect is that he's on a rookie contract, and there'll most likely be a team out there willing to take the risk to pretty much at this point, Dalton's a project and you have to just revive his career. I'm sure a team out there would look at Dalton Connect and say, well, there's potential that this guy could still become an elite three-point shooter. Why not, if we have to just give up a second-round pick to acquire Dalton, let's take the chance and put him on a roster and see if we could fix him. Like, I'm pretty sure if Sam Presti was given the option to get Dalton Connect for like a trade exception, he would do it in a heartbeat because Sam Presti's a sicko and the guy can just make the 15th guy on his roster into a legitimate playoff caliber player, which is what the Lakers have just not been able to do. So this is going to be an interesting offseason. I don't know what direction the Lakers go to. I think they have to listen to Luka. You obviously need your center of the future. You need 3 and D winged players that could, confidently and efficiently hit the open 3 and play defense and slash and attack the basket. They have to get younger. They have to get more athletic. I don't know how Mark or Pelinka or JJ could watch this Spurs Thunder series, or obviously when they just lost to the Thunder, and not tell themselves, yeah, we need athletes. We need to get younger. We need to get faster. We need to get more aggressive. The Lakers have not had that in years. And that's the direction a lot of these elite teams are headed towards. Depth, athleticism, shooting. Those are things the Lakers just lack. And it's up to Pelinka to get it done. I just don't know if he can. And I say that as somebody who last night watched in amazement as Alex Caruso dropped 30-plus points, defended the hell out of Wemby. And just part of me watching him do what he does, it drove me up a wall, man, because he was ours. And he was like in our G League system, and we developed him, one of the few players the Lakers developed well. And we let him walk for 1 year of Taylor Horton Tucker just so we could trade him. The rage is just building up right now. Just so we could trade him for 5 months of Patrick Beverley, who then we traded for 2 months of Mo Bamba, who never stepped foot on the floor. It just, things like that. It makes it hard for me to think that Rob Pelinka could have a successful summer. It just does, man. It makes it hard for me to believe that this guy, I could trust this guy to do the right thing this summer. The most important offseason since 2019. And you're expecting me to believe that a guy that let Alex Caruso walk to Chicago because they wanted to pay Taylor Horton Tucker, who, by the way, is out of the league, who they then traded for just a couple of months of some role players who didn't even play, that I will get over the Caruso Laker thing one day. But as long as he's doing what he's doing for Oklahoma, I just can't. I can't get over it. I just, it's insane to me that they saw somebody so talented like Alex. Every championship team needs an Alex Caruso. And the Lakers had him. And they said, no, we don't want to pay you. Even though you're an all-defensive type player, even though you're the perfect role player that we should keep around for the next 5 years, we're going to side with Taylor Horton Tucker because he had a couple of good highlights here and there. It still hurts, and it will always hurt because Alex Caruso should still be in LA. Alex Caruso should still be playing for the Lakers, and what a guy, man! I was in amazement watching Caruso. I know everybody's talking about Wemby, as they should, but Caruso deserves his flowers. This guy is one of the best professional basketball players in the world. Just does the dirty shit, does the gritty, does all the things that you need from a role player. He can hit the three. He can attack the basket. He can defend every position if needed. I mean, this guy was all over Wembanyama. Wembanyama's 7'6". I believe Caruso's like, 6'3", 6'4"? I don't have a Jamie to fact check me, but I'm assuming he's around that size. And he's just full court pressing Wemby, man. Like immediately just on him, like trying to get the ball. And he stopped him a couple of times just to run back, hit a three. Caruso did his job. Chet didn't do fucking shit. Excuse my language, but it's the truth. And man, props to Alex Caruso. I miss that guy. That's the type of player the Lakers haven't had since he left. That's the type of player the Lakers have desperately needed since he left. Can they get that player? I don't know. I really don't know, man. And we're gonna see. We're gonna see how serious this new ownership is. Let's see. Like, obviously, NBA is not like MLB. There's cap. There's you have to maneuver. You can't just sign the best player as Mark Walters and the Dodgers have. Which, by the way, props to them. If you have the money, spend it. Build the dynasty. That's the goal. I don't know why people get mad at the Dodgers for that. I'm not even a Dodger fan. I can tell you, I wish the Yankees would go back to doing what the Yankees used to do, which was just open the checkbook, get the best player, have the best team on the field, and win the World Series again. They don't do that anymore. Dodgers do, and people say they ruin baseball. I call bullshit. It's just your favorite team probably has a cheap owner. So let's see how Mark Walter does this. I know a lot of guys that work for the Dodgers are implementing their way they work already with the Lakers. I think Pelinka is quoted as calling it like a brother-sister relationship with the Dodgers and their front office. I know the heads and the powers to be in the Dodgers front office have been working in collaboration with Rob Pelinka. Now, are they the assistant GMs? I highly doubt that. Who they hire will be very interesting. But this is a make or break summer for Rob Pelinka, and it needs to be a make or break summer. And Mark Walter needs to really not just evaluate how this team functions as a franchise in totality. I really think they need to just question Pelinka and see if he can get the job done. Because if he can't do it this summer, and this team ends up running back a lot of what they had last season, he needs to be immediately fired. I am in the census that I think he should be fired. I would have fired him already. I have no faith in that man whatsoever. None. I don't think he can get it done. Until I see it to believe it, man. You did it one time in 2019. I gave you your flowers for that. You did it again in that 1 month offseason we got right after the bubble. When you brought in Dennis Schroeder, you traded Dreddy Green in the first round pick for Dennis Schroeder. You brought in Montrezl Harrell. You brought in Marcus Gasol. And for whatever reason, you brought in Andre Drummond at the trade deadline. Didn't make sense, but whatever. You did all those things. Somebody else like Wes Matthews Jr. So you have done it before. But then summer 2021 came and the whole Westbrook debacle happened. And ever since then, it's been L after L after L. Now, yeah, sure, you could say, look, man, I kept LeBron here for 8 seasons. I know I didn't bring him, Magic did, but I kept him here. I got Anthony Davis from the Pelicans. They didn't really give up anything that damaging to our franchise, and Anthony Davis stood here for a while. I then flipped Anthony Davis years later for Luka Doncic, and I kept my mouth shut when Nico was being stupid enough to offer me Luka Doncic. Yeah, those things you could all praise, but at the same time, what about the moves at the margins? What about the moves at the bench? They don't have... Frustrating to say the least. I'm giving Pelinka one more shot here, man. And if he can get the job done, cool. If he can't, fire him. Simple as that. My boys, we're back. Took a break last week. This is episode number 5 of the Crashing Out podcast. As always, if you like this video, like, subscribe, hit the notification button so you're notified when I drop a brand new video. Yesterday, we dropped the Lanterns trailer. I feel like I'm like blacklisted right now because nobody really watched the freaking reaction, but I'm going to link it down in the description. Go check out the Lanterns official trailer 2 or teaser trailer 2 reaction. And yeah, let me know down below in the comment sections, what's a player you want the Lakers to go after and you think the Lakers should make a priority? Do you think the Lakers should re-sign LeBron? What are your thoughts on Victor Wembanyama and his performance? Real quickly though, I totally forgot. There's the Easter Conference Finals. Again, Thunder Spurs is essentially the finals. To me. Now, Knicks-Cavs, I think Knicks win that series in 5 games. I think the Cavs are absolutely, even though they blew the hell out of Detroit on Sunday, that was 100% belt to ass, just dominated them. I don't think James Harden is going to be able to get it done in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Knicks have too many weapons at their disposal. And the only thing that I can see really hurting the Knicks, if you wanted to ask me who I think is a better coach, I think Kenny Atkinson's a better coach than Mike Brown. Trusting Mike Brown to beat the Cavs and then beat either one of the Spurs or Thunder is asking a lot. But this team is rested. Could that play a role to them losing? Yeah, I mean, it could, because when you take so much time off, you can either be really rested and ready to roll, or you obviously are going to be rusty. And the Cavs just played a game 2 days ago, so they're ready to roll or they're too tired. It's going to be one or the other. But if I had to put money on it, I have the Knicks beating the Cavs in 5 games. I think there's a chance that we see a rematch of the 1999 NBA Finals, and we see the Knicks versus the Spurs. This time, instead of Tim Duncan, it's Victor Wembanyama. And right now, I have to say, man, the Spurs have to be the favorites. If Victor plays like this and continues this dominance, right now, the favorites to win the championship has to be the San Antonio Spurs. And it kills me to say that because I grew up with the Tim Duncan, Kobe rivalry, Kobe Shaq rivalry with the Spurs, and I've always been a Spurs hater. But right now, they have the best player in the world without a doubt. And but yeah, I have the Knicks winning in 5. And I hope and pray to the basketball gods that Spurs Thunder go 7 games. And at that point, it's a toss-up, right? Who knows what could possibly happen? But this is going to be a series that we're going to be talking about all summer, all year, for years ahead. This is going to be either a passing of the torch where the Spurs, instead of the Thunder, become the most dominant Western Conference team in the entire association, or the Thunder dynasty is really, really on and they're going to move past the Spurs. I just do not see a world where either Eastern Conference team left has a real shot to be in both of them. My boys, again, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up, comment down below, hit the notification button, subscribe, all that good shit. I will see you guys later on. I will see you guys next Tuesday for the Crashing Out podcast. You guys enjoy the rest of your night. Too sweet.